Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's jump right in, shall we? Today's deep dive takes us into the mind of Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google.
Oh, a fascinating interview.
Yeah, packed with insights on everything from leadership to company culture.
And of course, AI.
It's not your typical business guru kind of talk, though. He really digs deep into the potential of AI to reshape, well, pretty much everything.
You can tell he sees it as more than just tech, more like a force that's going to redefine what it means to be human.
Exactly. So let's start with his journey at Google, which is pretty remarkable.
Oh yeah, talk about a success story.
I mean, he joined when Google was worth about $100 million and helped it grow to a staggering $180 billion.
That's not just growth, that's like launching a rocket into orbit.
Right. And one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on working with what he calls divas.
Divas, like in the opera sense?
Well, not quite. He's talking about those brilliant, driven individuals who are, let's say, not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Oh, I see. The ones who push boundaries, even if it ruffles some feathers along the way?
Exactly. They're the ones who often have that raw intelligence to drive true innovation.
I get it. They're not necessarily easy to work with, but they're the ones who can really make a difference.
Yeah, he even shares a story about Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Google's founders, to illustrate this point.
You mean like an anecdote from the early days?
Yeah, they were brainstorming strategy, and amidst all the discussion, Sergey just cuts through the noise with this radical idea, completely shifts their thinking.
No, it's about having those people who can think outside the box, who aren't afraid to shake things up.
Absolutely. But Schmidt also emphasizes that it's not enough to just have these brilliant minds on board.
Right, you need the right environment for them to flourish.
Exactly. Which brings us to Google's famous 70-20-10 rule for innovation. Have you heard of this?
Rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
Sure, it's basically a framework for allocating resources. 70% goes to your core business, the stuff that pays the bills.
Okay, that makes sense.
Uh,
Keeping the lights on.
Then 20% is for projects that are adjacent to your core business, things with potential to expand into new markets.
So, building on what you already do well, exploring new avenues.
And the most interesting part, the final 10% is dedicated to those moonshot ideas.
Moonshot, you mean like aiming for the impossible?
Yeah, those seemingly crazy ventures that could potentially change the world.
High risk, high reward kind of stuff.
Exactly. And Schmidt argues that this is where true breakthroughs happen. He uses Google Brain as an example.
Google Brain.
Yeah, it started as this tiny project focused on deep learning tucked away in Google X.
Ah, one of those let's see what happens initiatives.
Right. But fast forward, and it's now generating billions in profit for Google.
So it's proof that investing in those out there ideas can actually pay off big time.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder what moonshot ideas we might be dismissing too quickly.
Good point. It's a good
Yeah.
reminder to stay open to those unconventional paths.
And this all ties into Schmidt's bigger point about building a tech-driven culture that's laser-focused on exceptional products.
He's a big believer in speed and agility, right?
Yeah.
Especially for startups.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about how getting a great product to market quickly can give you a massive advantage.
Makes sense. Timing is everything in the tech world.
And he brings up Marissa Mayer, who introduced A/B testing at Google.
Now, A/B testing, just for those who might not be familiar.
Yeah, good point. It's basically showing two versions of something, like a web page, to different groups of people and seeing which one performs better.
So it's all about data-driven decision-making, taking the guesswork out of design.
Exactly. They were constantly experimenting, measuring, and iterating based on what the data told them.
Like a scientific approach to product development.
And this data-driven mindset extended beyond just products. Schmidt also highlights Google's policy of not laying off employees, even during tough times.
Interesting. That's pretty rare, especially in the tech industry.
It is, but he argues that it fostered incredible loyalty and allowed them to keep valuable knowledge within the company.
I can see how that would create a sense of security and encourage people to stick around.
But he acknowledges that maintaining this kind of culture gets tricky as a company grows.
Yeah, larger corporations tend to become more, well, bureaucratic and risk-averse.
Right. He even mentions how Google's famous TGIF meetings, which started as this fun, informal way for employees to connect with executives.
Oh, I've heard about those. Kind of legendary in Silicon Valley lore.
Yeah, but they eventually lost their magic as the company got bigger.
What happened?
Well, with thousands of employees, they became less intimate, there were leaks, and that sense of openness kind of disappeared.
It's almost like a cautionary tale, right?
Yeah.
Even with the best intentions, things can change as an organization scales.
It definitely makes you think about the challenges of preserving a unique culture as a company grows, especially in the fast-paced world of tech.
And that leads us to a topic that's central to Schmidt's vision, the AI revolution.
He doesn't shy away from the big questions, does he? He calls it, and I quote, a question of human survival.
Wow, that's a pretty stark statement.
It is. He believes that AI is progressing so rapidly that we need to adapt and manage it carefully or risk, well, some pretty serious consequences.
It's not just about jobs being replaced, is it? It's something much bigger.
Right. He's worried about AI systems making decisions that might not align with our human values. Like, imagine a self-driving car facing a moral dilemma in an emergency situation.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
The AI might choose the most logically efficient option, but that might not be the most ethically sound one.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of AI and misinformation, something we're all grappling with these days.
Oh yeah, that's the big...
He actually points to the changes in social media algorithms around 2015 that led to more targeted feeds.
You know, I hadn't thought about it that way, but those algorithms, designed to keep us engaged, they can also create echo chambers where misinformation spreads like wildfire.
And potentially fuel anxiety and depression, he argues.
Right. It's like this double-edged sword. The same tech that connects us can also be used to manipulate and divide us.
But even with these concerns, Schmidt believes that AI will ultimately create more jobs than it eliminates.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, he predicts that AI will actually double everyone's productivity, leading to new opportunities in markets we can't even imagine yet.
It's like having an AI assistant with an IQ of 1,000, as he puts it.
Right, but here's the crucial part. He believes it won't replace human judgment and creativity, those uniquely human qualities.
So AI will augment our abilities, not make us obsolete.
Exactly. He uses this great analogy of a robotic Formula One race versus one with human drivers.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Sure, the robots might be faster and more technically perfect.
But where's the excitement? Where's the human element?
Exactly, and that's what Schmidt believes will endure, even in an AI-driven world.
Those things that make us human, our passion, our creativity, our connection with each other.
Right, but he also introduces this concept that's both fascinating and a little unsettling. Raw models.
Raw models, what's that?
These are powerful AI systems that haven't been refined or filtered for public use. It's like untamed potential.
I get it. Powerful but unpredictable.
And here's the kicker. He argues that AI will eventually learn things that we don't even know.
Whoa, now that's a mind bender.
It is. And it raises some really tough questions, like how do we test for knowledge we don't even know exists?
And how do we ensure that we maintain control over something that's constantly learning and evolving beyond our own understanding?
Exactly. He even suggests that we might need to be able to, and I quote, unplug AI systems at certain points to prevent unintended consequences.
Like an emergency shutoff switch?
Yeah, like a safeguard, a last resort to make sure things don't spiral out of control.
It's a sobering thought, but it highlights the need to approach AI development with both enthusiasm and caution.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but this is just the beginning of our deep dive into Eric Schmidt's insights on the future of AI.
He's definitely given us a lot to chew on.
Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions on the potential and the perils of this world-changing technology after a quick break.
We'll be right back. You know, we were just talking about the potential for AI misuse, right?
Yeah, it's a bit unnerving to think about.
Schmidt really doesn't shy away from the darker possibilities, does he?
Not at all. He specifically mentions cyber attacks, even the development of biological weapons.
Oh, that's chilling. And of course, the spread of misinformation, but on a scale we haven't even seen yet.
It's almost like a Pandora's box scenario, isn't it? Once it's open.
Right, but he's not saying we should stop AI development altogether.
More like a call for caution and proactiveness, I think.
Yeah, he's urging us to think ahead, not just about technological safeguards, but about the societal impact as well.
So it's not just a tech issue, it's a human issue.
Exactly. We need more education, open discussions, really trying to anticipate the ethical dilemmas that AI will inevitably bring up.
It sounds like he's advocating for a more holistic approach, considering the human element alongside the technological advancements.
Absolutely. And it's not all doom and gloom, when it comes to the future. Schmidt is actually more concerned that we won't adopt AI fast enough.
Really? That's surprising. Usually it's the opposite, people warning about the dangers of AI moving too quickly.
I know, right? But he sees this incredible potential for AI to address some of the world's most pressing problems.
Like what specifically?
Well, he talks about education and healthcare. for starters.
Oh, I see. So using AI to improve those sectors?
Exactly. He believes AI could create a more level playing field, giving everyone access to quality education and medical care, no matter where they live or their economic background.
It's a powerful idea, using technology to bridge those gaps.
It is. Imagine a world where everyone has access to an AI tutor that adapts to their individual learning style, or AI-powered diagnostic tools that can help doctors make faster, more accurate diagnoses.
It sounds almost utopian, but in a good way.
Right. But even with all these advancements, Schmidt emphasizes that human connection and achievement, they'll still be at the heart of it all.
So he's not predicting some kind of dystopian future where humans are just cogs in the machine.
No, not at all. He sees AI as enhancing our capabilities, not replacing the things that make us human.
Our creativity, our empathy, our drive to connect with each other.
All of that, those things will still be essential, even in an AI-driven world.
He brings it back to that Formula One analogy, doesn't he?
He does. Even if you had robotic drivers that were technically perfect, there's still something captivating about the human element.
The risk-taking, the passion, the unpredictability.
Exactly. That's what Schmidt believes will endure, even as AI continues to evolve.
But speaking of evolution, he also brings up the possibility of AI agents developing their own language.
Yeah, I remember that part. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. Like, what happens when AI starts communicating in ways we don't even understand?
Right. How do we ensure transparency and accountability then?
It almost feels like crossing a line into the unknown.
It does, doesn't it? Schmidt sees this potential development as a crucial point for intervention, a moment where we need to reassert our role as the architects of this technology.
So not just letting AI develop on its own, but actively shaping its trajectory.
Exactly. And, this brings up the geopolitical implications too, right? There are serious concerns about nations using AI for malicious purposes.
Oh, yeah, especially with the rising tensions we're seeing globally.
Schmidt acknowledges those concerns. He's been working with governments and international organizations to try to prevent a dangerous AI arms race.
That's encouraging. It's good to know someone with his influence is pushing for responsible AI development on that level.
It's a complex issue, though, finding that balance between harnessing AI's potential for good while mitigating the risks.
Definitely, it's not an easy task.
But Schmidt remains cautiously optimistic.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. He believes that if we approach AI with foresight and responsibility, we can use it to build a more equitable, more prosperous, and ultimately a more humane world.
That's a hopeful vision, one worth striving for.
It is. And it requires all of us to be involved, asking tough questions, educating ourselves, and really participating in shaping the development of AI in a way that reflects our shared values.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about the choices we make as a society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we delve further into Schmidt's insights, I think it's a good time to reflect, what questions come to mind for you? What aspect of AI, whether positive or negative, keeps you up at night?
That's a great question to ponder, and we'll continue exploring these complex issues after a short break.
Stay tuned.
We left off talking about some pretty heavy stuff, the potential for AI to be used for harmful purposes.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in those what-if scenarios,
Yeah.
especially with something as powerful as AI.
But I appreciate that Schmidt doesn't just dwell on the negatives, he brings it back to the human element.
Right. He keeps emphasizing that AI is a tool, and it is up to us to decide how we use it.
He's really advocating for active participation, not just blind acceptance. We need to be informed and engaged citizens.
Absolutely. He talks about critical thinking, questioning assumptions, being aware of our own biases.
Because AI is going to impact every aspect of our lives, right? It's not just about tech skills anymore.
Exactly. It's about being informed and making conscious decisions about the role we want AI to play in society.
And this whole idea of maintaining human control over AI, it keeps coming up, Schmidt highlighted some specific situations where intervention seems crucial.
Like what, for example?
Well, remember the concept of recursive self-improvement, where AI systems could potentially design and improve themselves at an exponential rate.
Oh, yeah, that was a bit unsettling.
It is. It's like imagining a machine that can constantly outsmart itself, potentially surpassing our ability to understand or control it.
I see what you mean. It could get away from us pretty quickly.
Right, and Schmidt suggests that we might need mechanisms to unplug AI systems at certain points.
Oh, like a kill switch.
Yeah, like a safeguard, an emergency brake to ensure things don't spiral out of control.
It's a pretty drastic measure. but I guess it highlights the seriousness of the potential risks.
Definitely. And he also brought up the possibility of AI agents developing their own language.
Right, that was mind-boggling, AI systems communicating in ways we don't understand.
Exactly. What does that even mean for transparency and accountability?
It would make it much harder to track what AI is doing and why, wouldn't it?
Right, and Schmidt believes that scenario would be a red flag, a moment to step in and reassert our role as the architects of this technology.
So not just passively observing its development, but actively shaping its direction.
Exactly. And these ethical guidelines become even more crucial when you consider AI weaponry, something Schmidt has been quite vocal about.
Oh yeah, he's been working on the international stage trying to prevent a dangerous AI arms race.
It highlights that this isn't just a tech issue, it has huge geopolitical implications as well.
And yet, amidst all these concerns, Schmidt also said something that really surprised me. My actual fear is that we're not going to adopt AI fast enough to solve the problems that affect everybody.
Really? That's kind of the opposite of what we usually hear. Most people are worried about AI moving too fast.
I know, right? But it shows how strongly he believes in AI's potential to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges.
He sees it as a tool for good, a way to make real progress in areas like education, healthcare, climate change, even poverty.
So it's not about rejecting AI out of fear, it's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly. Acknowledging the risks but not letting them paralyze us. We need to move forward with both enthusiasm and caution.
He's got this vision of a future where AI empowers individuals and communities, where everyone has access to personalized learning tools and the best medical care.
It's a powerful image, a world where technology helps us create a more equitable and prosperous future for everyone.
But realizing that vision requires us to be actively involved, to engage in these conversations, and make conscious choices about the role we want AI to play in our lives.
Well, I think this deep dive into Eric Schmidt's perspective has given us a lot to think about, both the potential benefits and the potential pitfalls of AI.
It has. And it's clear that this conversation is just beginning, AI is evolving rapidly, and it's going to impact each of us in profound ways.
So as we wrap up this episode, I encourage you to reflect on what you've heard, to ask those tough questions, and to participate in shaping the future of AI in a way that reflects our shared values.
Remember, this isn't just about algorithms and code, it's about us, our choices, our vision for the world we want to create.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious and keep exploring. The future is in our hands.